They don't support women. They don't support minorities. They just oppose Trump. As long as the narrative is something negative as far as the Trump administration goes, or if it's something that is going to be a roadblock to a Trump administration narrative, they're all for it. They want to believe it. They will never question
The
it.
count of torture in that new filing. Joining us now, Rena Gandhi, an attorney for Garcia. So, Rena, we're hearing this account, Abrego Garcia sharing it directly with your team. What stands out the most to you?
I think for me, what stands out is the distinction between how he was treated initially when he got there, and once it became clear that his case was going to be a big deal and he got moved. Think about those who are there improperly, just like him, who have not been called attention to and have not been moved.
Tell us a little bit more about it. That it got better?
As described.
I love the somber tone with which they're speaking. Now, we don't know if the allegations against Abrego Kilmar Garcia are true or not. We don't know. That will come out in the passing of time. But what we do know is that there is a phone call from his wife, several phone calls from his wife about domestic abuse. What we do know is he was pulled over trafficking illegal aliens. We do know this. Now, all the other things about gang affiliation, etc., the evidence seems quite clear, but let's just say we don't know for sure. He's not just a Maryland dad. He is more than that. And everyone should have their due process, absolutely. However, this is a person that, by his wife's own admission, is an abusive person. So let's just at least paint the story and give the right context before we have this somber tone speaking about someone that who has innocently been plucked up from the streets of Maryland with no due process and no cause. So yes, due process, but let's at least do things right and have the right context.
In the filing and by him, the abuse that he suffered improved in the Centro Detention Center, the secondary location he was moved to.
So he claims that he was denied bathroom access and was forced to soil himself, that he was kicked and hit so much that he had visible bruises and lumps on his body. Have you been able to verify what Abrego Garcia is telling you?
At this time, we've spoken with him, and we leave it to government investigators to determine otherwise, but I believe my client.
So you've now detailed this.
It's your job to believe your client, and I'm not in any way condemning a defense attorney. You're doing a job just like a prosecutor does their job. But let's just keep it real. The man is in prison. The man is in prison, and you shouldn't be treated in an inhumane way. But the whole thing about soiling yourself, etc., we don't know how true it is. We don't know what the circumstances are. But what we do know is they're trying to paint a picture of someone who is innocent, someone who hasn't been given due process, someone who shouldn't be there. And keep in mind, the big issue with this whole case was that he was sent to his home country, his place of birth, when he wasn't supposed to be sent there, because he said that he might have issues going back home to El Salvador due to some gang issues, which there is evidence, strong evidence to show that he is a gang member himself. So, you know, the way that this is being reported is very biased. It's very, very biased. But what do we expect? This is what they do.
40 pages in court filings. What does Kilmar Abrego Garcia hope will come from sharing his story?
I think it's incredibly brave to share this kind of information, knowing and hearing that our government has clearly stated they intend to send him back. I am very grateful for him sharing this information and how it may help many, many others. I think we can only...
He's being called brave. He's being called brave. This man has been treated better than citizens of the U.S. have been treated in a lot of ways. You have senators flying over there to speak to him, to put out his story, that a lot of people know his name. There's a lot of victims that nobody knows the names of. There's a lot of hardworking people that their taxpayer money is being used to fight these cases, and nobody knows their names, but we know this individual's name. This individual that by all accounts is not the model citizen, someone who broke the American laws in the first place by coming illegally, someone who allegedly has broken countless other laws, and he's being called brave. It's disgusting.
I hope for his safe release here in Maryland with his family, and seek the comfort of his family and professionals. I cannot imagine how difficult it will be to live through that, and how much help he will need and support from the community.
As you mentioned, the president is threatening to send him back. Is he worried that's going to happen?
I think we all have to be worried about that. This government has shown that they're willing to ignore court orders, and I do not think that we should rest easy and assume that that is not a possibility.
Rina Gandhi, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Let's go now to our David Culver, whose groundbreaking reporting is directly cited in that latest court filing, first reported on Out Front. David, uncovering how prisoners are confined for nearly 24 hours a day, deprived of any time outside their cells and denied access to books. What are your sources telling you within El Salvador's government, and do they worry about these details surfacing?
First, publicly, Brianna, it's not surprising, but they're not making any comment on this. Well, what I'm hearing from folks who are close with the leadership, and President Bukele in particular, is that he's really unfazed by anything that comes from international attention that may be negative towards CECAT or towards how prisoners are treated there. I mean, they're used to it in many ways, but at the same time, his focus is on keeping that allegiance and alliance with President Trump, and he has sustained that so far.
I think it's more than that. I think for any government to look at what he's doing in El Salvador, which objectively speaking, he's been able to take a lot of crime off the streets. So us as Americans, or us as people in the UK, to be able to just point the finger and say what he's doing is wrong, we may not agree with it, but he has a different type of problem that he has to deal with. It's a different culture. So do I condone it? I don't know enough to be able to have that type of stance on it. But what I do know is that El Salvador was one of the most unsafe, if not the most violent countries on the planet. And now it no longer is. Whereas we have other countries that are pointing the finger and criticizing, that are daily getting more and more dangerous, and people don't feel safe on those streets. So I do think culturally it's very easy for us to feel that the way that we do things is the best way, the right way, the only way. But sometimes people have to govern their countries based on their culture and their past and their history and what they feel is right for their citizens. They have to make their own choices. They have to be voted in by their citizens. So really, they shouldn't be placating any other government leader. And I know that he and Trump seem to have a relationship at the moment, but we all know Trump, that could be something that changes very quickly. But as far as this case is concerned, you have a prisoner complaining about the way that he's being treated.
Tortured. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Maryland father, wrongly deported and locked inside one of the world's most feared prisons, revealing shocking allegations of abuse. He says it began just minutes after this moment, his arrival at El Salvador's Terrorism Confinement Center, or CCOT, a place shrouded in secrecy and known for its brutal tactics. In a new federal court filing, Garcia describing a nightmare, stripped naked, beaten, forced to kneel for hours, guards striking anyone who moved. And in just 2 weeks, he says he lost 31 pounds. Garcia is believed to be the only person ever to leave CCOT. Our David Culver, who twice over the past year was granted unprecedented access to the prison, will join us live in just a moment with what his sources are saying about these new allegations. But first, one of the lawyers who detailed Abrego Garcia's account of torture in that new filing